It's your post-match. It's with me, Dave, Rob, and Les, who are, well, it's okay for Rob, but me and Les are into Monday. It is Monday, isn't it? We're into Monday. Rob's still on Sunday, so that's why he's looking at everyone who's watching our YouTube with a big, massive smile. Me and Les hasn't even got a photo of himself on it if you are watching this, because he looks that tired. I'm quite brave and I've got mine on because I need to go to bed as soon as possible. But we've, as always, got an Everton match to talk about, and it was Everton 2, Manchester United 2. Our first point picked up in the Premier League, Super World Cup tournament, whatever it is that they call things over in America with you, Rob, not to stereotype things.
Something, I think you have to put you got world in there, you got super in there. I think you got all the words in. So
there you go. That's it, yeah. But a 2-2 draw nonetheless against Man United. And dare to say, I mean, we were talking in our WhatsApp group beforehand, and the general laughs and jokes when things like don't go too well, and somebody gives the ball away, someone falls over, and all that sort of thing. But by and large, dare to say it, I thought it was a much more improved performance than at least the first two that we saw. I'll come to you first on that, Rob. It seemed like there was some sort of cohesion with the players on the pitch, and I'm not going to say I felt a little confident to go into the Premier League in 2 weeks. Of course, got that game against Roma coming up first, but things had a little bit of, a little bit of dawn to look at, a bright dawn to look at. Would you go that far?
Yeah, I mean, by the relatively low bar that is this preseason, yeah, I mean, it's better. I mean, and I also would say that unlike a lot of your opponents in the preseason, you've been playing a lot of the same guys, a lot more extended minutes together. So I would hope at some point they would start to look slightly more cohesive. I won't lie, like, on the one hand, I don't care about results in the preseason. I just don't. Like, I mean, if you win games, whatever. I'm really just kind of looking at how do guys look, how do things feel. What are the things that are maybe different than what I've seen before? Those sorts of things. And so, but all that said, I'll say when United go up 1-0 in this, I'm not. I'm just kind of like, God, just show some life. I think that's probably been my biggest takeaway from preseason, and I don't know how you guys feel. It's just all felt very listless and lifeless, even if you understand the reasons why, and we all know the reasons why, and that is because, and we're not the only clubs going through it and all the caveats, but we have not signed enough guys. We had maybe even a thinner squad to start with than a lot of the other clubs that are also struggling in the market as well. So I feel like it impacts us in different ways. Bottom line, we need to sign players, and we need more viable options, and things will look better when better players come in. You know what I mean? Like, it's not rocket science. I think, but overall, yeah, it was good to see them play just kind of a back four formation, even if it's not the cast that it'll ultimately be at some point with Branthwaite missing, whatever. Things just looked a little more normal. I like the response when they went down 1-0, and the second goal, our second goal was totally bizarre. United's second goal was super class. I didn't have a ton of takeaways from the game overall other than those things, but it definitely looked better given the very low bar of the first two matches.
Interesting, Les, isn't it? That I'm resigned to looking at that 11 and in general think that that's who we're going to start the season with. I think it's best to take that approach, and then anything or anyone that comes in from now on is going to be a massive bonus. Maybe that's obviously a negative look at things, but if it is that largely that 11, let's say 8 or 9, 10 of those players start and play the way in which they did against Man United, do you feel a little bit more not as anxious as you did beforehand, having seen how we played? Because I think the same, and again, I might get slammed for this, but the same, the 3 games we played in the States there, each one we've started okay in, for me, in like first 15, 20 minutes in general, I've been okay. It's when you throw in aspects of fitness and substitutes and squad that we have to play with, that's when the real issues have sort of come to the fore for me. But tonight there, did you feel as if the things were starting to tick a little bit? People were starting to look a little bit sharper, getting the ball to one another. I certainly did in the first half.
Yeah, I think so. I think like Rob said just then, it was good to see the reaction to going 1-0 down. That they sort of came back and stuck at it, because I think against Bournemouth it all just fell apart as soon as they scored that goal. I think the main worry for me is I'm not sure that Moyes kind of knows what his best formation is at the minute, because at the end of the game he sort of went with that 3 at the back again. And I think to start, it was like a 4-3-3, although Irabunen was playing in that sort of more advanced midfield, Decore role. I think it just showed that we're crying out for someone on the right with a bit of pace. I mean, I know we've talked about this at length, I think, in every podcast we've done. But I just think we need to sort of play that 4-2-3-1 formation with the striker with 3 behind. So that's a bit of a concern, because it still feels like Moyes is sort of shuffling the pack a bit to try and find the best combination he can find with these players that he's got. And he sort of, over the course of this pre-season, he's sort of been really bullish and saying this isn't good enough, we're not getting enough players. And then the last comments were, I think we'll get players in, but I am just a bit concerned that I know this team finished quite well at the end of the season. Most of this team was playing against Newcastle when we got that good result there, but I'm just very worried that he doesn't quite know what to do with this squad of players, because we've not got reinforcements in. And the game itself, I think, before the game, I think there was a lot of people saying, well, why isn't he starting Tieno Barry? Because we've seen Beto start every game in pre-season. But I think when Barry came on, I think we could see why, because he doesn't look ready to me at all. He didn't get many chances, because I think that's still a deficiency in the squad. There's not too many chances coming apart from a long ball sort of hoofed over the back of the defence. But if we do that, I think Beto's probably better at dealing with that than Barry looked tonight. I don't know. There's still more questions than answers from this pre-season with me.
I think that's an excellent way of finishing with what you said there. I think there are more questions than answers, and it's hard not to have any conversation, Rob, within a couple of seconds talking about a lack of transfers. I mean, let's try and deter from that a little bit. When what Les has just mentioned there about Barry and Beto, because they're certainly not going to start with both of them up front. I actually thought Beto looked a lot sharper today. He very nearly scored at the start. It's a really good take that he does there with O'Brien should follow up and hits the post, and he should have put that in as well. But Beto to me looks like he's got a sort of bit between the teeth in terms of he knows he's got competition now for that role. He's gone into the second half of last season when Moyes come in with Dominic Calvert-Lewin predominantly injured. Schmitty's not ready. Brozier wasn't either. He seems to be injured / shite all the time. So, Beto's seen and seized an opportunity in that, and it feels as if he'll carry on with that same intent, especially when he's got a 30 to 40 million pound striker, but breathing down his nose. His neck, his nose. He might be breathing in his nose as well.
Sorry. I just that visual of him breathing down his nose was just kind of hit me there. Look, I mean, the theory behind. I mean, I'm not saying anything anyone doesn't know, but I mean, the theory behind signing quality players, sometimes even regardless of having a quote unquote normal starter in that position, or and in this case Beto needed competition, of course, but the theory behind it is you're supposed to be able to incite or elicit some reaction of the player ahead of him, or that player that you signed will overtake him. And I think for Beto, I agree with you that I think that there is a bit of him feeling the pressure. I think that there is the frustration I think he has at just not having a real breakthrough yet in this preseason in terms of getting a goal, getting something good happening. I think that all of those things have created frustration, and of course not having enough chance creation around him. I think if you ask the strikers candidly at Everton right now, they know that the chance creation in this squad right now, especially because it's all kind of Njai or bust in terms of that part of things. It's just, And I think Alcaraz has been a bit slow to start this preseason, even though I still generally believe that I'd rather have him in the squad than not. I think that those things have contributed to some of the frustration you see with Beto. I think that Moyes has made some comments. I think I had heard he'd made some comments that they were reporting on the broadcast today that Moyes has been pretty direct with Beto about the level of disappointment and how he's playing so far. And so obviously it's hard to assess any of this in terms of what am I supposed to make of how the strikers look if they are working with one hand tied behind their back right now, so to say, right? And so I don't know. And that's why doing late business has all of these sort of cascading effects to the micro level of, well, how does the striker look, to the macro level of, well, we only got 2 points out of our first 4 or 5 games or something weird like that, right? Because we get off to a slow start. We're trying to integrate players. And it's just going to be the way it is, but it doesn't make it any less frustrating. But I do think that overall feeling we feel, you see it on the faces of the players. I think I see it on the face of Beto. I think at various points in the game, especially before Everton equalized with that Njai goal that was incredible, by the way, which we haven't even talked about. But I think you saw a lot of that frustration on their faces. There's some body language there. I think Moyes kind of sets some of that tone. He's frustrated. He's making no bones about how frustrated he is. And I think that carries over to the players a little bit. That's not always a bad thing in terms of wanting your players to have your sense of urgency and an edge. But you walk a fine line. You don't want to get into any kind of toxic negativity before we've even kicked a ball in the regular season.
Just to move on, the more positive side of things that Rob was speaking about there, Les, the goal we scored there was a really classy way in which we sort of brought it about. I think it's Tarkovsky's running back from a ball that was put into the box initially, and he wins it, gives it to a fantastic cross, and such a cool, calm finish from Ndiaye putting it in. Do you know, it's interesting what Rob was saying there. It feels like Ndiaye or bust, doesn't it? At this moment in time, because he feels like he's head and shoulders above everybody else. And obviously, it's great in one way, but it's a massive concern in the other.
I would say he's probably head and shoulders above anyone on that pitch tonight. He just looks. Yeah. As soon as he gets the ball, he wants to make things happen, and he's the only player who would have finished the way he did with that chance he got tonight. It was a great cross from Garner. Lovely first time finish, but yeah, it does feel like, I mean, it was the same last season, wasn't it? We got a little bit too reliant on going through him. Not only just in attack as well. You know, he does a lot of defensive work. So yeah, it does feel like there's too much going through him. Like Rob said, Alcaraz has been a bit slow to start this preseason, but I think we're better with him in than with him not in. And like I said before, I think it's all about getting a player on the right-hand side to sort of complement what Ndiaye does on the left. But I think there's the midfield's the issue again, isn't it? Because every attack we sort of started tonight was a long ball from the back, pretty much, or hoofed in from the side. So I think that's a big issue. The fact that the midfield's very functional, but there's not many sort of playmakers. James Garner can kind of do that job, but he was sat very deep tonight. So again, it comes back to like Moyes not quite knowing what the best formation is for this squad and where to put everyone really. But there were good signs. We did create a few good chances. I think the first half, like you said before, Beto got that one, which he took down really well. But Beto being Beto, he was offside. But it's an odd one, isn't it? Like I said, I don't really know where to stand with this. I don't know what, like we said, it could be that lineup pretty much that goes into Leeds. Whether that team could do anything against Leeds, I have no idea, because it's just, this pre-season, it's not been great. It's not like the alarm bells don't need to ring completely, because it is pre-season. It's that cliche, minutes on the pitch and that, and getting fitness up. But yeah, the same questions are there, aren't they? That we're not creating good chances really for our strikers. So
I think when you get into that position, though, I mean, we were comfortable with it. We could handle it. And probably more appropriate way of saying it, Rob. Last season, we were able to handle not being great in front of goal because we had such a strong defence, 4th best in the Premier League. The feeling I get towards it now, though, when you look at those games, we did concede a few goals, didn't we? What did we concede? 7 goals, was it, over the 3 games? I think it goes on to a little bit more of a knife edge when you're having to be so reliant upon your back 4, 5, whatever it is, given the defenders that we've got now. That whilst they are the same defenders that did such a great job, it's you can't go with that so often. You can't go with that for 2 seasons on the spin when you've got not much of an effect going the other way. That then is a knee-jerk reaction onto what we were speaking about with Ndai as well. So there's zero balance from that back 4 onto everybody else in front of them. Maybe that does a bit of a disservice to Ejisagana Gay, but I think maybe the 5, 6 players that'll be in front of that back 4 just feel to me like they're worlds apart of the solidity we have at the back.
Yeah, I think if there's one kind of thing that I'm still trying to figure out 20-something years into watching this sport, it's what are the kind of chicken or egg knock-on effects of having one area of the whether it's the midfield being dysfunctional and how that affects the attack, the defense playing with kind of a slightly different cast right now in these weird formations. I think it's all just feeling disjointed because, and I think maybe to a degree, this is the point Moyes is trying to make with some of these decisions to, if he feels like he needs to put pressure on. But I think that it just shows that, the whole thing is really disjointed because it's just missing pieces. And even beyond the transfer talk, I think Branthwaite obviously is just a gigantic miss. I don't know, again, how much you put into preseason, defensive records or anything like that. But I would say that the value for me of this is building partnerships or getting some time on the clock with guys that you play with on a relatively consistent basis. And I hate that Branthwaite misses out on that. But obviously, I don't care if this is the right step that's going to hopefully have him ready. I mean, I don't. We haven't gotten an update in a while on Branthwaite, so I'd like to hear some kind of sense of whether they're aiming for him to play week 1, but who knows? But yeah, the midfield, all the different elements of the team right now are just a little out of sorts. But again, I do want to say on the positive side of things that the overall response was good tonight. It was kind of a weird game. There was a weird second goal. There was the weird Fernandez just being a total psycho trying to kick out at Njai in a preseason game. There were just lots of weird chippy elements to a game that felt disjointed with all the subs. It's preseason, and I think it's best not to overthink it. I think it's just one of those things. There's nothing that could have happened. Even if we'd won 2 of these 3 games, Dave, we wouldn't really feel fundamentally differently about the needs of the squad or the overall state of things, right? So I think that you take from all of this what you will, but I think take it with a big grain of salt. And overall, hey, this was their best game of the 3. So if that, cheers you up a little bit, I think that's a good thing. And again, I do have faith in Moyes to sort this out. I think we'll get the signings in. It's never on time as we'd like it, but I'm still generally pretty bullish about our overall prospects. I'm just a little worried about the start of the season, like I think everyone else is.
I think Les thinks the same as you, not to put too many words in his mouth. I'm the complete opposite. I'm panicking. I'm shaking. I'm absolutely petrified of the team that we're going to be going to lead.
I'm trying not to be negative, Dave. I'm not trying to not to be only negative or overly negative. I don't know.
Right. You know that's my role on every podcast we've ever done since it started 13 years ago. But I did want to touch upon playing Man United and maybe give it a bit more of a general perspective on this list. That we've played 3 Premier League sides who, by and large, you don't know what's going to happen with Man United because they are a bit of a basket case, aren't they? But the other 2, you're probably looking at sides there that we're going to be competing in and around, maybe not too far away in sort of mid-table. We've been saying quite a lot that if you get into the top half of the Premier League table, then you're pretty close to getting in Europe these days. Yeah. It's probably going to be 8 positions these days. With them in mind, the teams we played against, I know we got battered by Bournemouth, we lost to West Ham, and drew this game. Do you look at those opponents and think we're considerably that far behind them? Or is it, do you know what, I don't feel too much of a panic like I am when the opposition that we've come up against are sort of in a similar position to us and still need a lot of things to sort out, still need to bring in more players?
Yeah, I think if we got battered by Bournemouth, beat by West Ham, and drew with Man United in the Premier League, that sounds about standard. To be honest, that's nothing new, really, is it? I think the issue for me is that it's the squad depth again, because you look at tonight, you look at Man United's bench compared to ours, they just outnumbered us completely. Same with Bournemouth, same with West Ham. So I think that's like we keep saying on every podcast, that's the biggest apprehension going into this new season, that we're just not gonna have the squad depth, because we saw it last season. To go back to that horrible Bournemouth game that we shouldn't talk about, but they brought on a load of players towards the end of the game, and that completely turned it. And we just don't have that luxury at the minute. And I think that's obviously where Moyes' frustration is coming in, because not only does he not seem to know what formation to play to get the best out of these players, he's also got no options on the bench to change it. Tonight Tyler Onyango came on at like right wing back. I'm not even sure he's ever played that position, because I thought he was a midfielder. So that does show, the sort of like the scarce resources that he's got to hand. So I think that's my biggest concern, really. It's not so much the results, because they're nothing out the ordinary, because Bournemouth always batter us, let's face it. And West Ham are good for beating us now, even at Goodison, which wasn't the case for years. And Man United, they are going to be teams that are all around us. As much as the commentary team tonight tried to talk up how good Man United were, Graham Lasso said this is Man United 2.0. They're desperate for Man United to be good again. The Premier League.
Has he been talking about United 1.0 being absolutely shite and finished 15th?
Well, exactly, yeah. But I think that this shows the desperation to get Man United to be good again. And my big concern, and we were speaking in the group before, and Matt Flusk said this, is that if United get penalties like that one they got tonight, I think you've got a different view on this, Dave. But if Man United get penalties like that one they got tonight and decisions like that, they'll finish top 6, top 5 easily, because for me that was never a penalty. I think Tarkowski was probably a bit stupid to put his hands on him, but again, contact is not a foul, and he didn't drag him back like he was saying to the referee. It was silly, and it was a soft penalty. I don't even know if VAR would have overturned that. But that's the concern for me, really, with the squad. Just going back to that point, is that I'm not too concerned about the results. I'm just looking at the players we've got and the fact that the manager can't really change anything on the pitch.
I'm not going to take your discreet bait that you put in front of my face there about that penalty decision, by the way.
Go on, take it.
I said, for people listening and watching, I'm going to look and I'll put my neck out on the line. I said I thought it was a penalty, and I always say it with probably in the wrong way, because I should say it wasn't a penalty, but I can see why it was given. That's sort of the general feeling I have towards.
To be fair, Dave,
go on.
You did caveat it with Everton wouldn't get that penalty though.
Yeah, I did say that, and then because I was getting bullied in the WhatsApp group, I said I changed my mind, did a complete 180, and said that was nowhere near a penalty. But that's the way it is these days, isn't it? That if you're voted out of what you think in our WhatsApp group, then you need to just walk away quietly. But I do want to go back to what you said there, because I asked sort of what people's views were from our contributors, and Maflos said pretty decent performance all around. Undeservedly went behind, held our own well despite loads of subs for them. And Jack Carlisle said, thought we were actually all right. Blatantly, there's a few of them short, but there's bits and pieces to work with. I think that's sort of what we hinted at here, Rob, isn't it?
Yep.
The way things are right now. It's what we're Monday over here, aren't we? So it's 2 weeks to the day when we start the Premier League season. I think, on the other hand of things, and again, it's a typical statement for me to make, but I think Leeds will be looking at Everton in those 3 games and licking their lips at what's going to be happening on Ellen Road on a Monday night. It's going to be absolutely buzzing because they're back in the Premier League. Yeah. But to finish off, in general, you being from America, I don't know why I'm saying that when it's pretty obvious.
That's me. I am Rob from America.
And the thing that I'll regret for a long time not going over there was because when we were last in America, what got me was really exciting about it when we played Real Madrid. It was Juventus the other game where Stone scores the Panenka and all that sort of thing. How was it over there? Tell us, give us a little bit of a flavour of what it was like. And you were in Chicago with Matt and Paddy, and Mark Mosey as well. How was it generally received, Everton being in the States?
No, I think that, and I want to let Matt and Patty speak for themselves. I'm sure they're going to have a lot to say on the byline, but I'll just very quickly say that it is one of those things where I was glad to have Matt and Patty and Mose over to get a sense of what this means. By, it's one thing for like them to read that, oh yeah, there's an interest in Everton in America, right? Or to hear me say it, right? But to actually see it, to just the sheer number of times in places that had nothing to do with Everton, we were seeing people wearing Everton gear. Obviously, people were probably spending time in town who'd come in for the games, whatever. We saw so much of that. And I think Matt and Patty were taken aback by just how much of that they saw, compared to their expectations. So, look, the game was, you guys saw the game, so less said about that, the better. It was cool to go to Soldier Field. There was good support. Obviously, they strategically put United games always second at these things so that you get more people filtering in as the night goes on. But the joke's on them because the weather really came down on the United fans. We got out in time. Meeting all of the Everton supporters that showed up to AJ Hudson's, who many of whom knew who the Blue Room were and just wanted to say hello, and they were just, everyone was so kind. The dinner cruise thing was fine. It was good. It was well executed overall. I thought it was a nice event. I think everyone was just in a pretty good mood. I think people are still, they understand about the transfers, but generally hopeful over there. Seeing lots of little kids, like fathers and sons and daughters wearing Everton gear. And it was great. It was nice. And people seemed genuinely pretty overall optimistic, which is probably because they haven't spent enough time with Everton yet, maybe in some cases, but I really do appreciate the overall positivity. So great. And then last thing, of course, is if you've never been to Chicago, I cannot recommend Chicago enough. It is just an absolute joy of a place to visit during the summertime. And that's it. It was great.
Dave, let's take this positivity into Blue Monday when we've got to speak about this game again in about 8 hours' time.
It'll be interesting getting Roger's perspective on all of this ended with optimism, because I never thought there'd be anybody more pessimistic about our football club, but he sort of does step over the line even more than I do in talking about how negative Everton are.
It's just three grumpy old men talking about Everton, isn't it? Basically,
yeah. Listen, less of the old. I'm not even in my 40s yet, so start with that. But just to finish on that really positive note there, what Rob was talking about in an excellent way was the club sort of spreading itself on a global face of things and getting out there and doing something I think that many of us have banged on about for many years, that Everton need to go and do that. So the ironic thing is we've had players there. We had Landon Donovan, we had my mate Tim Howard. We had players like that to go and do this a long time ago. It's now that we're doing it when we don't have them, sort of the Everton way, isn't it? Same what we did with Tim Cahill or we didn't do with Tim Cahill. So it's great to see the club getting out there and doing that sort of thing. And from a selfish perspective, I hope it's happening next year so we can actually go over there, Les, and experience it in some of those pies, whatever they are, pizza pie things that they do over there that Rob's just been make me
Chicago
need
Chicago.
to get a flight right now and get over there to have some of them. But anyway,
don't get it mixed up with a Chicago town pizza like from the frozen aisle in Sainsbury's or whatever. It's not quite the same as one of them. It's
Rob, I'm presuming Rob hasn't had one when he comes over for Chicago town pizza.
I have not. But apparently, is that a must-have? Have I missed?
No. You want to say, you want to still have that answer to that question when you go back home, when you come over again, because it's one to stay away from. The McCain micro pizzas are fine though, Les, aren't they?
Oh, microwave pizza. I'm not sure about that.
You know
what? There's a time and a place for a Chicago town pizza, and I think the time is now. To be honest, it's
eight drinks in, 12, maybe that's when it's appropriate.
12:43 after watching the Toffees. I think.
Do you guys have frozen? Because do you guys do frozen pizzas over there? Because a frozen pizza in the oven, I'm I'm great with. I can do that. But I don't know if that's a thing over there.
Yeah,
no, it is. It's probably. I'd say that's probably more popular. I say more popular. It's probably used more than actually getting a fresh pizza ordered. People will do that when they do their weekly shop. You will get some frozen pizzas, or you go to Asda, do some amazing pizzas that you can pick up because you can.
Asda pizzas are brilliant.
Asda pizzas are great.
Frozen pizza over here is emergency tea. If you've got nothing in for tea, you check the freezer. Got a pizza. Go out.
That's you know what, Les? That's why they say that America and England have a special relationship.
What, our pizzas are just jealous of yours. We'll leave it there. That is the post-match instant reaction done as Everton drew 2-2 with Manchester United. To end the tour of the United States, the next game's against Roma with the Legends game as well, which will be interesting. At Bramley Moor, the first time it's going to be full before we start our season against Leeds away, but then we've got Brighton in our first big Premier League game there. The usual lineup of shows are coming in the coming week. Obviously, like Les said there, we've got Blue Monday in a few hours to talk about reflection on the games, but also a lot of different other subjects we get into as well. Paddy and Matt will be over their jet lag and be back with Byline, I think, by the time they've got over it on day 2 on Tuesday, and we'll have the weekly mailbag, everything else throughout the end of the week. Thanks for listening to us as always. Thanks to everybody who listened to us and have sent us so many lovely messages of what it was like for the lads out there in Chicago. And we'll be back soon. Up the toffees.